I'm joined by the Dreegers this morning. Now, this family we've chatted with in the past. The last time we chatted, you were going on a canoe trip. Things took a little bit of a turn for the not so great on that trip. You are now on a new trip. That was about, what, 3 years ago. Your new trip now, you're headed south to South America. This is an exciting trip. First of all, tell us a little bit about why your family decided to do this.
So we ended up spending most of our time in Central America, and then we'll probably just hit possibly just Peru and South America, maybe Ecuador. We're hoping for Ecuador still, but we have to kind of wait and see how things pan out. But I guess I just really love to travel, and my family has traveled quite a bit. And I just really wanted to be able to take our kids and expose them to traveling, different cultures, different people groups, difficult situations, things like that. And we wanted to do it with the kids, not just me and Eric. um and they're getting older. They're at good ages right now where we were able to take them out of school. So Micah's in grade 10 right now, but the school agreed to work with us. And Maisie's 11, so we didn't feel as nervous about dragging her place to place. um it just felt like the right time because, yeah, they're going to be graduating soon, and then that'll be the last opportunity we have to do something like this with them.
So this is definitely a big one. Kiddos, I know you're around there in the off to the side there. What has this been like? Was it like when your mom's like, "Hey, we're gonna take this trip." You've done some pretty awesome trips in the past, but what were your thoughts when you heard that you were gonna be going on this trip?
For 6 months. Not super excited.
I didn't think it was gonna work out.
Say it again.
I didn't think it was gonna work out.
I didn't think we're actually going.
I think they all doubted me.
But now that you are on this trip and you are on what, I guess almost 4 months into it, 2 months, 3 months, 3 months. Me
But
and
we're on
math,
our
we
month
don't
three.
we don't go together very well. So you've been on the road since the end of January, correct?
Yes.
Now that you guys are on the road, you've experienced all this fun. Yes, fun. What do you think? What do you think now that this trip has come true and it's actually happening?
Uh,
Awesome. It's been really, really fun.
Lots of hard moments, but a lot of fun ones too.
It's been interesting and fun.
Ditto with him.
I love that answer. You two, what has it been like for you so far? Has it been what you expected it to be?
I didn't really know what to expect. I guess probably the thing that I was hoping for that's come true the most was in the past when we've done trips or done something hard, the ability or the chance to experiencing something difficult together, and the way that brings the family together. Um, that's probably for me been the most exciting part is just seeing these kids go through some difficult things and the chance to do it together and how that brings us a little bit closer. Um, that's been for me the most exciting part.
I love the like different groups of people. I enjoy that we get to live in like other people's realities for a little while, and that our kids get to experience other people's realities. Like Nicaragua was Nicaragua was a really exciting and beautiful place, and we enjoyed our time there. But we had to ride a lot of like local transport, and we lived very much in a rural, like very small fishing village type place. Um, Dirt roads, like, yeah. And there was most definitely harder moments there in a lot of ways, but the fact that we got to just kind of experience their reality, what their day-to-day life is like, was one of the things that I was really like, I'm pleased that my kids got to see that. And even though it was hard at moments and they really disliked certain aspects, like chicken buses, really crowded buses with piles of people and being pushed and everyone's hot and sweaty and things like that. They didn't always love that, but it was really nice to be able to talk to them about the fact like this is how they live every day and we get to just experience it for a period. So let's just enjoy this period, even though it might not always be the funnest.
So many opportunities to learn. Now, you are, like we said earlier, in Peru now, but leading up to that, tell us a little bit about where you were before and where you started.
I'll let Eric talk about the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. So we had this kind of harebrained idea to buy an old camper, almost as old as me, and drive that down through the United States. So yeah, we started Manitoba, headed down through the states in that thing. We took a couple weeks and just kind of camped out in truck stops and stuff like that, all the way down to San Diego, California, and then parked it there. And then from there, we kind of loaded everything that we thought we would need for the next like several months on our backpacks, on our inner backpacks on our backs, and then yeah, caught a bus, hiked to the border, and entered in at Tijuana. And then from there, we flew down to Mexico City, and we spent a week there. We have some friends there who do missions work there, and they're connected with our church. So we had an opportunity to kind of meet with them and see what they're doing there. And that was kind of like our first introduction to like a really different kind of culture. And from there, maybe I'll let Rachel talk.
Okay. So then from there, we flew from Mexico City to a smallish town in Mexico called Chetumal. And then we bussed into Belize because it's way cheaper than flying into Belize. So we bussed into Belize and we actually got to stay in a nice little house on a little citrus orchard that's owned by some Canadians from Rosetown, actually, and they happened to be down there as well in their main house. So we were able to spend time with them. It was really nice having people kind of be able to help us and guide us and give us advice and stuff. And we spent pretty much almost an entire month in Belize. We did all sorts of things in Belize. I think Belize was a highlight for all of the kids. Hey guys, would you say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we did a lot of interesting things in Belize. We spent a month there, and then from Belize, we bussed into Guatemala to the town of Flores. And then Flores, we overnight bussed to Antigua, Guatemala. Again, another highlight. Antigua was really cool. And then Antigua, we bussed through El Salvador and Honduras into Nicaragua. And we spent a night in Leon and then went out to our fishing village. And we spent 3 weeks in Nicaragua. And then from Nicaragua, we bussed to Costa Rica and only spent one night in Costa Rica just to catch our flight to Peru.
Now
So,
you've been in Peru for about 4 or 5 days, correct?
I think so, about 4 or 5 days. Yeah.
That's
You
right.
lose track of time pretty
Yeah,
quick.
definitely. So now that you are in Peru, what has that experience been like since you've arrived in Peru?
Do any of you want to say? I've loved Peru personally, but
It's been one of my favorite parts so far.
It's a nice temperature.
it's, a
Yeah,
nice-
it's much
very-
cooler.
it's much cooler. Nicaragua was like on average 40 above, like feeling
Wow.
like 40 above pretty much every day. And we had no AC, and some nights we didn't even have fans because the power kept going out. So being here and it being like highs of 20 during the day it was really cold when we first got here.
No,
Really cold, but
it's got to be a huge change. Imagine when you come back to Canada. Woo, even
Yeah.
plus 20 is going to feel cold to you. Now this has obviously tested not only all of you as people, but has it tested your faith at all along this way, or has it helped build your faith at all this journey?
has it helped build your faith, guys?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of answers to prayer and a lot of answers to prayers we didn't even know we had, if that makes any sense. So I ended up with a bit of a medical emergency. I woke up, we spent 2 nights in Leon, Nicaragua before we were going to Costa Rica. And the first night we were in Leon, I woke up with really bad pain in my right side. I couldn't, like 11 o'clock I couldn't sleep. It was pretty intense and pretty awful. And like on painkillers and stuff, it would like lessen, but it never fully went away. So the full next day, we kind of toured around Leon. I was only so much I could do, but I was in pain for the full next day. And then that next night was like intense pain. Like, I mean, I've had babies and I've had gallbladder attacks, and it was right up there with all of that. So I had 2 really horrible nights, and we had to decide what to do because we were supposed to be on a bus for Costa Rica. It was a 14-hour bus ride. We were supposed to be on a bus for Costa Rica at 6 in the morning. So we decided, I started Googling things, and we prayed a whole lot, but Googling things, and Costa Rica had a really good medical system. And so we decided to go for it. So I just, yeah, painkillers all the way to Costa Rica. We got to Costa Rica, and Eric was able to take the 3 kids to our hostel in one city. And then Micah and I continued on to their main city on the bus, to actually one of the best hospitals in all of Costa Rica. And the only reason we went there was because a different friend has a missionary friend in Costa Rica who started messaging me saying, "What are you going to do? Where do you think you're going to go? Like, here's what we think would be your best option." So we decided to go with what they said. And I got to Costa Rica, and they have an amazing medical system where like I had tests and CTs done within like 3 hours. I had an answer, and it was a kidney stone had come down.
Wow.
So, but it was just like, they're like, you need a CT. And within 30 minutes, I had a CT, and things like that. And just worked out so absolutely perfectly that everything would fall into place, that we would happen to be in Costa Rica at the right moment. So yeah. And even like the hostel was supposed to have beds for 4 people in one room, but they really were just single beds. And so the fact that Eric ended up at the hostel with just 3 kids, meant that everyone actually had a full bed, and like weird little things like that you just, we wouldn't have thought of. Like if we had ended up in this hostel all together, we we wouldn't have actually had space for all of us to sleep. And so the fact that it was only the 4 of them that were at the hostel, everyone, was able to get a bed and sleep. And our night at the hospital in Costa Rica was good. Like they provided a pillow and a couch for Micah, so he was able to sleep. And I don't know. Yeah. And
really all the way down, there's all kinds of things that situations you find yourself in where you're actually kind of helpless and you really have no alternative but to sort of pray. When you're relying on public transit that's sometimes not very reliable, and then also not in a language you necessarily understand. You just sometimes you find yourself, like in Belize, we found ourselves a lot on the side of the road, just saying, "Okay, God, send us something because
we need a vehicle.
We need to get home tonight before it's dark," and we just pray, and then a van or something would pull up, and they'd say, "Hey, you guys need a ride," and we just hop in, and yeah, we haven't. Those aren't things that you don't always encounter when you have your own vehicle and you have your own home and stuff like that. So it can be a little bit trying, but it's been neat to see how things just work out, and the opportunities as a family to just sort of, like when Rachel was having such pain and we just have no idea what it was, at home, maybe the first thing we would do is call the Health Links line and say, "Hey, we need to go to the emergency room," or something like that. When you're in Nicaragua, all you can really do is just sort of ask for wisdom. And we all kind of gathered around and prayed for Rachel, and the opportunity to see that, God has everything in his hands, and that we can trust him has been really cool.
But what an amazing reminder, though, too. Like, God is there even in the smallest of things that, like you said, sometimes back here in Canada, we take for granted. We don't think about that because everything's just handed to us. It's always there.
Yeah.
This is such an amazing reminder that God is with you. He's always there. We just sometimes, unfortunately, forget about him.
Mm-hmm. And he cares about all the little things too, like even like via the bus rides from one place to the next. Like he cares about all the little things, all the little aspects of our day to day as well.
What would you say was or has been the most challenging experience out of all of this so far?
Probably like the whole not knowing what to do in Nicaragua, and trying to figure out if we should wait for Costa Rica. For myself anyways, that was it, just that feeling of like we have dragged my entire family down here because it was most definitely my my ambition, my goal to get everyone out of the country and traveling. So there was moments where I thought like, wow, this was really dumb of you, Rachel, to have dragged everyone down here. And now you're like possibly going to be in the ER for like who knows how long and who knows what's wrong. So that would have been one of my most difficult moments, but
Ooh,
Any-
uh, for for me, I think probably just the initial getting on the road. What are we doing? It's not really. It's outside my comfort zone. Just be, um, I I left my job for the time that we're gone, and just yeah.
he doesn't feel right if he's not working.
So, but so that just it took me quite a while to get used to the idea of this is what we're doing now, and yeah, but it's been challenging, but it's been really a growing thing. Do you guys want to?
What has been challenging for you guys, Ezekiel?
The heat.
The heat was hard.
Leaving home.
Leaving home. Everyone's missing family for sure. That's a big thing.
Overnight flights, those are miserable.
We don't love when we travel overnight. We do a lot of overnight flights and a lot of overnight buses just because they're usually some of the cheapest ways to travel.
Mm. Yes, that makes sense,
Every
definitely.
time,
Mhm.
every time we have to leave a place that's felt like home for almost a month.
And that makes
Yeah.
sense. I know we just bought a trailer, and to even ask my kids to stay there for a week was painful for them. Like they were homesick and wanted to go home and cried. Now they're looking forward to it, but I understand that. Now, speaking of the good things, though, the exciting things, I know you mentioned the highlights a little bit earlier, but what has been the most exciting event along the way with this trip so far?
The caves, the ATM caves.
We did something called an ATM cave tour. Yeah, so Micah, go ahead.
It's the Mayans believed that caves were the entrance to the underworld, and so they left sacrifices in there.
Oh,
And so
wow.
we got a tour of one of those caves.
So we had to like
So it was like a 2-hour caving experience. So go ahead.
it was like you had to like squeeze through tiny spaces and climb over boulders and swim, and it was just cool.
And then when we got to the top of the cave, then like this, like the top or like a big chamber, there was
pottery, and
Hmm.
then at the back there were skeletons. One of them was a complete skeleton. It's called the Crystal Maiden.
and it's from like, I don't know, 909 BC or something. Like it's really old. It's a really cool cave tour. So that was a highlight, I think, for a couple of them for sure. The archaeology and the whole caving experience. Like you were squeezing in tiny spaces, and we had to take life jackets off at one point to actually fit through this one little area where you were swimming. You couldn't touch the bottom, but you couldn't wear a life jacket. It was too tight and squishy, and it was a very interesting experience.
And then there was a rock that jutted out at your neck.
There was a rock that you had to get past that like felt like it was cutting into your neck. It was a really cool,
Yeah.
It was an all around really cool experience. Abe, what was your favorite thing?
I enjoyed K Calker and the Midway Museum.
What did we do in Keyculker?
We swam with sharks and swam through a coral reef.
Don't
Wow.
forget the stingray.
We got to go swimming with sharks and stingrays and through a coral reef, and that was Abe's favorite. And then what's the Midway, Abe?
Midway is in a decommissioned aircraft carrier that they turned into a museum.
In San Diego.
in San Diego.
So that was one of his favorites. Zeke, what's been one of your favorite things?
I like all the animals.
Oh, yeah. Where did we go? We saw a bunch of animals.
The Belize Zoo.
The Belize Zoo was a pretty cool.
Where did we go yesterday?
Oh, we went to a market yesterday and we saw a whole lot of animals too, but they were all for eating. So
I did see your pictures from the market. At the end of the day, as a family, what do you hope that you will all take away from this experience?
I hope that my kids realize that they can do difficult things. That like I'm really hoping that they have far more confidence at the end of it. That they realize that, I don't know, like scary things aren't bad things, difficult things aren't bad things. and that there's always opportunity to grow, and there's always opportunity to change. So I think that's one of the biggest things I'm hoping that they gather from this and take with them. So
Yeah, I think the other thing would be just to have their eyes opened a little bit about um, how the rest of the world really is. You know, Rachel and I did a bit of traveling when we were first married, and I think that's something that really formed how we have been since then. Is that life isn't not everyone does everything the way we do it in Canada, uh, and we can put up with a little more hardship than we think sometimes. You know, and um, yeah, just have the idea of their world a little bit more expanded. Yeah.
So you're in Peru. What's up next? How much longer are you on the road, do you expect?
that we don't really know. We have a month in Peru, so the hope is to see some different sites here, and like everywhere we've gone where we've spent lengths of time, we really just enjoy getting to know like our area and just kind of seeing like day-to-day local type life. So we're really enjoying the town that we're in right now. We're in Urubamba, and it's beautiful. It's got gorgeous mountains all around, and like there's just I don't know, it's a whole different experience here than any of the other places we've been so far. Um, we are here for a month, and then we're hoping to get to Ecuador and the Galapagos, but everything is depends on finances. We just have to kind of see what Peru does because we still got to get home. So we still need
Definitely.
enough money to get home. The next big step is like figuring out how we're getting back to San Diego, and then we have to be able to get our motor home. So
Got to keep that all in
yeah.
mind when making the plans. Now, speaking of home, I know you are still in the middle of this trip. Do you have any other big plans? I know you mentioned earlier the kids are getting older and it's going to be a little bit more challenging because, they're going to move on and have their own lives. But do you have any other big plans you're going to do before that happens?
I don't know if we do at this point.
Yeah, not yet. I guess the kids are all actually talking about now when they get home wanting to try to find jobs, and I think we're
Yeah,
kind of entering that stage now where um
can't just take long periods away from life.
It's a new
that
adventure.
was sort of
Mhm.
sort of the part of the reason for this trip. It seemed like kind of maybe the last chance. So
Yeah. I do know that at one point Eric had talked about wanting to hike the Mantario Trail with everyone, but that would just be like a, like a
maybe a week
like
kind
a
of thing.
week,
Yeah.
10 days kind of journey. But so that might happen, maybe next summer or the summer after or something. But and then I know each kid kind of has an idea of what they want to do after they like what they might want to do as like a fun thing when they graduate. Like Micah would like to go to the Smithsonian. So maybe Eric and Micah could go to the Smithsonian, and Maisie wants to bike across PEI. So different things like that maybe we'll try and when they graduate, try and find a way to do something special with them. So
I love that they're all
mm,
dreaming already. Thank you so much, all of you, for this interview this morning. I do appreciate your time.
yeah, thanks for
Thanks for
getting
your
in touch.
interest.
Yeah.